it's kind of extra CME hours and extra training to get the knowledge to treat that problem.
To treat it specific, because it's a growing problem, which I think we're going to start getting into right now. So let's, if we can, I think look at some different images, if we can, about really how much obesity is affecting the United States. And we're going to show a map right now. Dr. Yao, maybe you can walk us through this. I mean, usually if I'm thinking right, green, yellow, red, green is usually good. Red's probably not so good, right?
Absolutely. As it gets darker, we're having higher percentage of obesity. And you can tell like how many states are getting darker color and the percentage getting higher and higher. So kind of roughly every 2 out of 3 are getting of adult obese or overweight, and every 1 out of 3 kids are getting obese or overweight. So
we're in the green in California. Does that mean we're good? We can just wipe our hands and be like we're solved?
In the 20-something percentage, 24% out of the whole population is pretty high percentage still. Less than other states, but high.
Still high. It's still significant an issue that we need to be working on. And from my understanding, from looking at all the community needs across California, Kern County specifically, I mean, if you looked at California, we're going to do that right there. Not so good. We're in the red.
Right. 25% California, and Kern County is 30% of the population are being obese or overweight.
So what is it in Kern County that makes us different than, say, other parts of California? Since California as a whole is green, what's going on here? I mean, I would say, in my own mind, right, that we are a meat and potatoes kind of town, that people like to eat a lot of barbecue, a lot of things that may not be necessarily good for you over time, right?
Different factors, yeah.
Different factors.
Yeah, the choices of food absolutely is one of them. And the increase or kind of different way of physical activity, different lifestyle modifications, a lot of different factors in Kern County.
And it's not just what you see on the scale, right? What about the other medical complications of obesity, right? The stuff that's going inside your body that you can't see?
Absolutely underlying cause of a lot of medical problems, diabetes, type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular heart disease, hypertension, a lot of the sleep apnea problems that we're facing, cancer, increased predisposition definitely for different types of cancer, gout, heart disease, and kidney disease, joint arthritis, depression. A lot of those.
A long list there. It sounds like one of those side effects lists that you see on a TV commercial for a medication, right? Those are all the things that people don't maybe think about that. There's a cancer and food connection or obesity connection that's there that people might not even think about.
Definitely one of the factors, and they have good studies to prove that in certain types of cancer.
And one of the things I think that we'd like to discuss today, because there's different programs at Adventist Health, is there's different ways of thinking about how to eat and eat right. And really the most important one, I would argue, maybe Emily, you can talk about this, is the one that you'll stick with, right? Because people talk about diets, and I'll let you, because you're the expert, explain. But from what I've heard dietitians say is the reason they don't like diet is because it's a modification to what you're doing now, but it's really lifestyle change that you really are aiming at doing, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely what I preach to my patients every day. The research is really clear that 95% of diets fail. So why would I set someone up to do something that they're not going to be able to do long term? I always say I encourage people to do one little step, something that they can do every day that they can do for the rest of their life.
And let's talk about that, because you are a practitioner of what we call, is it mindful eating? I'll make sure I get this correct.
Yeah.
Mindful eating. What does that mean exactly?
So it's really, I say that it focuses more on how you're eating and why you're eating instead of so much what you're eating. The focus is for really people to pay attention to how food feels in their body and make their own decisions for themselves. So what feels good in my body might be very different than yours, than Dr. Ayad's. And it's important to figure that out. We focus on internal cues instead of external cues. Instead of following these specific numbers that a diet plan tells you to follow, you find what's right for you, and then therefore it's sustainable. Okay,
and one of the, and I've heard you talk about this at the Bakersfield Women's Business Conference last year, because I won't steal your thunder or your punchline, but there are no bad foods, right?
Yeah, that's true. I tell my patients every day. I probably say it at least once. Oftentimes they'll say I'm so bad because they ate the cookie, and I'll say you're not bad unless you stole it or you killed for it. And if you killed someone, then it's different.
That's a different story. That's a totally different story.
Absolutely.
So it's what you're eating in total that's probably potentially going to have a long-term impact. It's not one particular food, it's what you're doing long-term. So let's talk about weight management. Why is it such a challenge, Dr. Yad, for so many people? I mean, we heard Emily talk about how changing that lifestyle and that mindset is so hard. I mean, there's got to be a huge mind-body connection to this too, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So it's a chronic disease, like you named the diabetes, the hypertension, all of those different problems. It's still a chronic problem. So it's not about maintaining, it's just not about losing the weight, it's also how you're maintaining that. So it is very challenging. There are different factors. And when you're treating that problem, you're not just treating the choices of your food, you can be treating different predisposing factor for that weight to come up. So it's not me not taking the right decision on choosing my food. It's also about different genetic predisposition, childhood problems, a lot of different factors about, socioeconomic status, different background for the problem, medications that were added on the list of some patient and caused them to gain weight. So it's a multifactorial, and it's not done where we lose the weight. It is how we're maintaining that weight long term.
It's making those changes lifestyle-wise long term. Let's talk about fad diets and why diets. I think you guys are both on the same page on this. Why diets don't work. Let's start with you maybe first, Dr. Yad, and then we'll get Emily's thoughts on this. Why are fad diets? And we're going to talk because I already have a question here from somebody regarding keto diets, which I want to get into. Why do you think fad diets are not as effective for some people?
So you can find tons of different types of plants. Like I put some examples. You'll find a banana diet, the sleep beauty diet, the
cleanse, the cayenne pepper and whatever else, lemonade or something like that.
Right. Those different, juicing everything and drinking it in a liquid form. You name it. I mean, it's tons of those diet that come up all the time. So it's at the end, in my practice, and I always repeat that, the best diet is the diet you can be compliant with.
Okay.
So, but putting it in a medical perspective, it's how you put it with your specialist about the weight management to put the proper plan that will not harm your organs, that will be proper for your health, that will definitely fit in your lifestyle modification, how you're tailoring that plan with everything else. So, it's not about reading about any plan and following it. It's about discussing it with your doctor, discussing it to know, is it the right one for you or not? Right,
because again, it's not only one size fits all. Everyone kind of, can do something different and think about it and what works for them. Your thoughts on this, Emily, about fad diets and things that people try? Because I think maybe it's just out of frustration, right? People feel like they're not in control and they're like, well, this is something that I can definitely do and it'll help me.
Yeah, diets never get to the root cause of why people are eating. So I always say if eating or being healthy was as easy as following this plan, we wouldn't have the problem that we have today. So I think that's the biggest issue is they can follow something short term and then life comes up and then they don't have the tools to deal with that stressor and they turn back to food.
It's a coping mechanism for a lot of people. I mean, I find myself when I'm at the desk and I'm stressed and I do kind of get a little bit hungry, but I'm like, okay, let me pull what's in my drawer. Hopefully it's a healthy snack. But even then, right, it's like calorically, how many things are you eating over the day that will build up over time, right? So it's a coping mechanism for a lot of people. Let's get into this because it actually follows very nicely with a question that it looks like Alexis Johnson asks us. A lot of my friends are doing the keto diet. I've heard it's unhealthy. What are your thoughts? So let's start with you, Dr. Yad. Keto diet, and I think it's Al Roker just recently was on the Today Show talking about the keto diet, and he's a big fan of it. He's talking about how it makes a big difference for him. I think it's a keto diet, but it also might be the intermittent fasting, which is another one I've heard about. So let's start with the keto diet first. What are your thoughts?
That diet is absolutely great plan if it's done right and if we understand the different stages of it. Because a lot of people will take the induction phase, the first phase, and they don't move to the other phases after that. And they don't really go on increasing their carbohydrate gradually, and this is the problem. So it is very healthy plan when it's done properly. Okay. And when it is medically supervised, when you have all the proper tools to have it in a good setting. So you absolutely benefit out of it from different perspective. Is it the right plan for everybody? This is a big question. That's why it's good to be medically evaluated to know how is your kidney function, how is your diabetes, are you on insulin, are you on oral meds? can you go on a very extreme low carbohydrate diet plan without being supervised? I don't think the answer is yes. Absolutely. It's very dangerous to do it unless you are medically supervised.
And let's back that up, because I probably should have explained to people, I mean, because not everyone knows what the keto diet is. What exactly is the keto diet? And everyone's talking about being in ketosis. So what does that mean exactly?
So it's the name went from shedding the ketones down in the urine. So it is really kind of end degradation of the fat. And we call it keto because, or it had been a popular name because of the ketones being in the urine. But the great thing is the kidney already adapting after a few days into that plan, and we're not always shedding ketones down in the urine, but it took that name. And it's basically a low carbohydrate diet plan.
So it's proteins, you can eat fat?
So the fat and the protein don't have to be monitored in that plan. And when we say unlimited, they cannot be unlimited because really everybody get full first.
Right.
And they can go higher on protein and fat. So yes, the fat and the protein don't have to be counted. But what need to be monitored in a low-carb diet is the carbohydrate. Because,
so my understanding of it, again, you're the expert, if you eat the carbohydrates, it basically nullifies everything that you've done on the diet. Is that right?
So if you're decreasing the intake of your carbohydrate, your body has to still find the fuel because all your vital organs need that fuel. So it has to go take what in excess fat storage you have and use it for fuel. And this is when you start to burn any extra fat you have. And this is when those ketones are down in the urine. So that's basically as simple as description for a low-carb diet.
Gotcha.
But it has different names. So one of them can be a keto plans.
Okay, so that's what we call keto. I have another question here from, this is the latest one, I'm going to go back up in a second, but Nick Rhodes is asking, what about intermittent fasting? Any thoughts on that, Emily?
Yeah, I've seen it be really effective for women, I say postmenopausal, when they can't shift their body composition, even though they're doing all the right stuff with their diet, keeping it low carbohydrate. And there's a lot of benefit from the cognitive function. So people will do it to improve their I guess their ability to think.
Is it discipline? Like just thinking about your, because to me, it's like when I get super hungry like that, and then again, it goes back to your idea of mindful eating, I'm just like, my body needs fuel, I need to eat something right now.
Yeah, it's really hard to do if you're eating the standard American diet or if you're getting those carbs in your diet. Most people doing the ketogenic diet pair it with intermittent fasting because you're kind of in that state and it's easier to fast.
Okay.
Versus when you're eating all those carbs, it drops your blood sugar and then you need to eat again. But if you're not having those carbohydrates, it's much easier to do. It's not for everybody. I've seen it be, some people will just fast in the morning and then end up binging by lunch and then they're eating crazy the rest of the day. So it's very individual.
Okay. And what are your thoughts on intermittent fasting? And that's another big thing that everyone's doing right now, or not everyone, but like it seems like everyone's doing it. Everyone talks about it.
Yes,
it's all popular right now.
Yeah. So best studies are on 16 hours fasting, intermittent fasting. So we explain it to the patient. If you have your dinner by 6, and your breakfast by 10 o'clock in the morning, and we're not skipping breakfast. That's a breakfast, but a little bit later. And then have your meals from 10 o'clock in the morning till 6 p.m. So you're consuming your meals in 8 hours, and then you have another intermittent fasting of 16 hours. And it works with different plans, but it's like Emily said, it's easier when you are on a low-carb plan because your hunger level already down, because you reduce the trigger for your hunger, which is carbohydrate.
Is that because you got protein in you and it's slower to digest and your body feels satiated, or is it?
And really the fat shut down the hunger. It's really what shut down the hunger. And then when your insulin production is less because you're consuming less carbohydrate, so you're absolutely less hungry, and you don't have like a roller coaster blood sugar through the day, and your sugar is more steady. So patient can do more of that intermittent fasting with different plans, but it is definitely more popular with a low carb plan.
Okay, and Urbano Solis, who's one of our viewers here, is saying, I do IR 16-8. I'm guessing that's intermittent fasting, 16-8. Eats from 12 to 8 p.m., no meals before or after, just water and black coffee. I mean, that to me, Emily, maybe this is just me, it seems like a lot of discipline. I mean, it speaks to, a lot of folks, in my mind, right, part of their challenge with weight management is having the discipline to kind of stick to something like that that's so regimented.
Yeah.
Is that something that you find one of the potential challenges, I guess, of intermittent fasting is being as committed to it as you have to be, it seems like?
Yeah, I think honestly, like I said, some people are not breakfast people, so it works for some people, it doesn't work for other people.
I get up in the morning, first thing I want to do is eat.
Yeah, but some people aren't hungry in the morning, they don't get hungry.
Wife's the same way, she's like, get ready, get the kids ready. I'm like, no, I need to eat right now. That's the first thing I need to do because it's like, I'm starving already.
Yeah.
I think he probably is adapted. They call it fat adapted, so his body's not needing that fuel until later in the day.
Okay, what about, and this is a comment from somebody, Jatinder saying it's bad for you, depriving yourself of nutrients. So, I don't know, what do you think? What are your thoughts on that?
Again, I don't like to use the word good or bad.
Well, this is the conversation, right?
Yeah. Well, so that's my biggest concern with the ketogenic diet. And I've used kind of a spin on it with my patients. It's called the mitochondria food plan. It's put out by the Institute of Functional Medicine. And what it focuses on is on the phytonutrients and the 12 specific foods that support mitochondria function while keeping it low carbohydrate. So the function is on the nutrients, using food as medicine. So I love it for that reason. If you're doing something like that, I don't think you're going to miss out on those nutrients.
We're going to nerd out here, but so mitochondria are the powerhouse of the cells, back to my biology days.
Yeah.
So you're basically trying to feed your cells with the things they need to power themselves, giving them the nutrients they need without all the extra stuff. Is
Absolutely,
that right?
yeah.
Did I break that down
Yeah.
correctly?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about magic pills. Is there a weight loss pill, Dr. Yad, in your mind that you think is either natural or medication-wise that you think is really something worthwhile that people should be looking at?
So I wish there was a magic pill. There is
You'd be a millionaire, right?
Yes, yeah, there is no magic pill, but there are absolutely a lot of medications and tools and supplements and different things that can be a good fit for different patients. So so be careful when you look at those one-day diet or whatever extreme type of advertising on different supplements. Be careful what you're using. Consult your doctor, consult someone in the medical profession to know if this is a good fit for you or not. But we have FDA-approved medication for weight management. We have 4 medications that are FDA for weight management. And the great thing about it now that they look at it as chronic weight management, because we had before short-term weight management medications and patient has to be supervised. We have to stop the medication. Now we have actually more long-term usage for them, because they found that the weight management and the obesity problem is a chronic problem. So they help patients to lose the weight and continue to maintain their weight. There are different things that even changing some of the medication that patient had been taking, because some antidepressant cause a lot of weight gain, some different medication can have a side effect. So adjusting some of those medication to a different type that will not cause the weight gain. So it's actually not a magic pill, but there are different supplement and medication that can be a good fit for different patients to help them.
Because I remember fen, and we just saw a few seconds ago, Belly Blaster, all these natural things. What are your thoughts on all those natural supplements? Because I know a lot of people turn to that because it's something you don't have to have a prescription for, necessarily have to see a doctor for. What are your thoughts on the natural things?
Yeah, so fen was taken off the market because of the side effect, but different medication are still available, and there are different supplements that could be very natural and still help. How we look at the patient taking their multivitamins, how we look at their labs and see if they were deficient on any vitamins, how we are assessing if they can be a good fit for prescription medication. And when we prescribe anything, the best part of what I'm trying to do in my practice is to say it's not going to be the pill that will make you lose the weight. It's going to be your lifestyle modifications and the plan that we are adapting. And if we are using any medication, it's just a tool to help you stay on the plan that you feel is a good fit with your lifestyle modifications.
Okay, so let's talk about, and we did talk a little bit about intuitive eating, but maybe we can revisit that really quickly, Emily. What does it mean to be an intuitive, it's not intuitive, it's mindful eater?
Eating, yeah.
Mindful eater.
Yeah.
What exactly, because there's a whole program around this, what does it mean to be a mindful eater? Because that's another potential avenue that people could take to lose weight, right?
Yeah, it means listening to their body and eating when they're hungry, stopping when they're full. I think it's obviously easier said than done, because we live in a society that tells us this is a good food, this is a bad food, which starts to change our thoughts. And it's hard to be mindful too. In society, we're so busy all the time.
Yep.
You have to, like you mentioned about the snacking. So many people are snacking at their desk, or they're eating while they're driving, and they're not even recognizing that they're consuming that.
Right.
People eat because they're sad or they're bored. I find that to be very common, and so mindfulness is just bringing that awareness to it, recognizing that they're doing it.
The same reason people smoke, right? Because it's like something in your hand, and it's, I mean, people talk about that. They smoke cigarettes or eat food without even realizing that they're doing it. Like it's just something they naturally do. Because it's busy, it's like something keeping your hand busy.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, and you have some tips, like starting your day off with protein.
Yeah.
So what kind of proteins are we talking about, and what should we be eating then?
So I love to do eggs in the morning. That's one of the things I have all my patients do, if they're willing to do it. There was a study done on people who ate 2 eggs a day versus oatmeal and cereal, and the egg group ate about 200 calories less per day. Eggs are really filling and satisfying. Greek yogurt is something that you could do. I do like overnight oats. Have you ever heard of those?
I've done those where they put milk in and you put it in the fridge, basically?
Yeah, and you can put oatmeal, you can do chia seed and flax. It's a good way to get soluble fiber in there as well. And then you can eat even something like leftover piece of meat from the night before. You know, cook maybe extra chicken breast or extra piece of pork and eat that the next day, or piece of salmon. That's a great way to start the day. Okay,
and you're saying having the protein in you is what keeps your blood sugar level for the day, so you're not like hungry in another hour when you get to work, you're like eating again, right? So protein in all meals and snacks. Your position is you should be eating a little bit of protein. It talks a little bit about the blood sugar level, right? Making sure it's even throughout the whole day. What are some good examples of that? Like even in the afternoon, yogurt's another good, right? Even when you're doing it in the afternoon?
I like to pair like a piece of fruit with maybe some nuts or nut butter. That's a good one. Crackers and cheese, you could do something like that.
Beef jerky, I see on the top of the list up there.
Yeah. I have an Epic bar. Has anyone seen an Epic bar?
I have not. Well, I mean, I've seen all the bars. So what are your thoughts on all those bars down the aisle? I mean,
well, this is a different one. This is this is put out by a paleo company out of Austin, Texas. So it's nitrate free. It's not grass fed, but it's still a healthy form of beef. And it's basically just protein. So it's
is it like a teriyaki? Because there's nothing.
This one it has
there's a cow on there.
So yeah, this one's beef. So they have and this has habanero and has cherry and walnut in it. So 9 grams of protein, but really satisfying. And you know, if you kind of find yourself being hungry in the afternoon, something like this will keep you full until you can eat again. Versus, I say something like people go for carbs, you go for crackers, you have those, and then you want something else maybe 30 minutes later. So something like this really does shut your appetite.
Cheese and crackers, the protein bars. Because I have like I forget the name of it. My wife buys the. I'm trying to remember all the ones on the. There's like the Luna bar, and there's the.
I like RX. So and I like it because it's a clean protein bar. The protein comes from egg whites. And then I think things like hummus and vegetables are a good snack.
And I'm going to ask you a little bit about both about this. So when you're going down the aisle and you're looking at those bars and everything, what should you be looking for? Because there are a ton of bars down that aisle. Like there's protein, there's weight loss, there's all kinds of stuff. What should you? I'll start with you, Emily. What should you be looking at on the label? Because sometimes the labels are confusing too.
Yeah, a lot of them are not healthy options. A lot of them are glorified candy bars.
A lot of sugar in them, right?
Exactly. Or sugar alcohols. So I like something like this. I like that RX bar because it has minimal products, ingredients. If you look at some of those protein bars, they'll have 20 to 30 ingredients in them, and you can't read most of the the words that are in there. So the RX is a clean one. I can't think of another one off the top of my head.
Okay, your idea. I saw you shaking your head, like
and this is what we teach the patient in the clinic about how they read the label, and it could be as simple as making sure that at least you look at the total carbohydrate at the back. You can subtract dietary fiber to give yourself a net carb. And see if I have those 2 bars and one of them, their net carb is 50 gram net carb versus another bar that's 5 or 10 net carb. So which one will make me hungry faster? Probably the one that has high carbohydrate, because I have to produce insulin to digest that big carb load that I had.
Well, sugar that you just ate.
Right, and then right after I'm hungry. Versus another bar that I had less carb in it, and it was more filling. Look that it has a little bit of protein, the amount of protein. I would say look for 15 grams of protein or more. Make sure it has good fat, because the fat content is always good if the fat extract is a good fat.
What you're looking for, because I want to make sure we're clear on this, because there's total fat usually, and then there's the unsaturated fats, there's the saturated fats, and then sometimes there's trans fats.
Right.
So you're looking for the unsaturated fat content, right?
Yeah, and when we want to make it simple on all of those things, we always want to ask the patient, or ask yourself, I ask myself, after I ate that bar, how long after I was hungry? So if I ate that bar in 15, 20 minutes or half an hour after I'm starving, it's probably not a good one. So go back and look at the label and see the total carb in it.
And Emily, do you have any feelings on, because one of the things you were just talking about is it's really clean, because I'm thinking the RX bar, it has like egg white, dates, that kind of thing. Do you have any feelings between, because some of the other bars are literally, when I eat it, it tastes kind of like sandy. It's kind of gritty. Like it's obviously some kind of protein mix that was put together. Is there a difference between that protein and, say, eating another bar that is like protein from like an egg white or something like that? Is there a preference of the two of those? Does it make a difference?
Well, anytime I think we can eat there's something that's closer to the whole food, our body knows exactly what to do with that and how to digest it, versus chemicals, which are a newer thing, and our body really doesn't know how to do that. I think sometimes those chemicals, we don't get that same satisfaction because our body can't extract the nutrients from it.
Gotcha. And I'm going to go to some of these questions. I'm going to go a little bit out here, but we are getting some questions. Mari Quintero Lopez is asking, is it possible to lose weight eating what you want within limit and exercising? And I think the answer to that is probably
Yes.
Yes.
But so I would say when I work with my patients, I never have weight loss be the focus. I always focus on the relationship with food. I focus on modify lifestyle factors, so sleep, eating, exercise, and the relationship with food. And if weight loss ends up being a byproduct, that's wonderful. But that's not what my focus is.
Okay, and I'll ask you this, Dr. Yad. Mari is asking, is detoxing good, and does it really work?
It depends on what we're treating. So someone with liver problem, or we're detoxing after any specific reason, medical reason, or we're simply detoxifying. So it depends. Is it a good? It's a good outcome if we are using proper supplement for it, and we're not simply juicing and using cleansers and a lot of those things that cause a lot of diarrhea and problems, because it's really in the market. The marketing for it is really wrong. It just sends the wrong product just to sell products for people.
And somebody was asking this. It's a similar question. What about vitamin supplements? Thoughts on vitamin supplements? I know you're neither good nor bad necessarily, right? Or what are your thoughts, Emily, on vitamin supplements?
I think it's really individual. I would rather have someone get their labs done and then dose their vitamins based on their labs and also their diet. We can get so much nutrients from our diet if we're eating whole foods and fruits and vegetables. And so I think it's, like I said, individual.
Okay, and Dr. Yad, Urbano Solis is asking, any thoughts on Bang energy drink? 0 carbs, 0 calories, 0 sugars. Is this a healthier alternative to traditional sugar-filled energy drinks?
When we're talking about zero on everything, then what is there in it? So make sure when we are choosing any of those products that we're also enjoying what we're consuming, because I never call any of my plans like a diet, and I don't like calling it a diet. I just like it to be a lifestyle modification. So if you're enjoying that drink and you feel that the content in it is right with what you're trying to achieve in your plan, and it seems like part of your lifestyle modification, and you're not really feeling, oh, I can't wait to be done with that period of my life because I want to go back and eat the way I used to eat before, then you're not on the right track. Because if it's not a lifestyle modification yet, it's kind of, we call it like a yo-yo dieting, and we don't want to go that way. We want to go in a good way. So if that one is good or not, it depends on what you're trying to follow in your lifestyle modification, and if you're enjoying the taste of it or not.
The flavors are like cotton candy, and there's one called unicorn something.
I haven't
tried them, but they try to make it these really delicious
unicorn,
names.
Drinking a unicorn.
Yeah,
okay.
Rainbow unicorn or something like that. But I've seen cotton candy for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to go back, Emily, to some of the mindful eating ideas that you had, and an emphasis on fiber, because that also might help keep you full. So what are you looking for? You're saying 25 to 50 grams of fiber a day. And what are you looking for on the back of the package? Is that soluble fiber? How is it put on the back of the package so people know what to look for?
So you're looking for total fiber when we're giving that goal 25 to 50 grams.
Okay.
It's going to be a combination of soluble and insoluble. Soluble fiber is fiber that your body can digest. It's really good for the bacteria in our intestine. It eats it and ferments it. It helps keep our immune system healthy. And then insoluble is good because it helps us move our stool, so it kind of moves things through. They estimate that the average American gets about 12 grams of fiber a day.
Okay, so not even half of the lower end of that.
But if you do a cup of berries, you have 6 grams, so you're already on your way to
so you can eat fruits. I mean, and we're actually going to show this next. Eat the colors of the rainbow, which seems kind of intuitive. It's what God put on earth for us to eat. So if you're eating those things, it's almost like a freebie, I would say, sort of, like, because you're getting so much nutrient and everything else in there that I haven't heard. Maybe I'm wrong. I mean, are you telling people to limit your salad intake? Right? You never.
Right. Yeah.
They've never heard somebody say, "Oh, you're eating too much salad."
That's correct. And I love using this because the red in particular is really good for heart health. So if I have a family that's concerned about cardiovascular health, the white, tan, brown is really good for supporting liver detoxification. I think about all the patients that I work with on medications, so I emphasize those. And then the blue, purple, black is really good for reducing the risk of dementia and for cognitive benefits. So that's the way I practice, is using food as medicine, and I love that.
Because what you're putting in your body is determining the outcome.
Yeah,
right? It's exchanging things in your body, and your body is taking things up as if it were medication. Quick lunch ideas. These are great, right? Because we all are all busy and don't always have something to grab, and we usually go somewhere that's fast, maybe fast food. So some of these might be a little easier to do than others, but like a smoothie or something you can grab on the way out.
I do a lot of times like a lettuce wrap, so a piece of lettuce with maybe tuna or egg salad, lettuce with a piece of turkey and maybe some cheese.
roasted
smoothie,
vegetable with protein I see on there.
Yeah.
What's Luvo frozen meals? Haven't heard of those.
Yeah, so that's a frozen meal I found. A lot of my patients will do smart ones or like Weight Watchers meals, which have a lot of sodium in them, and that's one of my concerns. Try to keep it more whole foods, less sodium. So the Luvo meals is more. They keep their sodium around 300 to 400 milligrams per serving.
I feel like that's one of the challenges, right? And this is the whole bait and switch kind of thing. Is when we went to like fat free in the 90s, right? It was suddenly everything was full of sugar, right? Because you're taking out the fat, you got to put something else that tastes good. So people put sugar in. Well, in the case of like all these foods, is they put a ton of salt in there, right? So you're not missing the taste, so to speak. So it's like one of these hidden things that your patients are having to look at.
Yeah.
Let's talk about dinner ideas too. Tacos, tostadas, burritos, taco salads, things that you normally would eat. Cauliflower rice bowl.
Yeah, I brought.
Okay, so you got some actual show and tell here too.
So this I bought at Target. So this is rice cauliflower. This one has asparagus, and I guess it has mushrooms in it. But I typically buy the one from Trader Joe's. It's in the frozen sections. It's an organic rice cauliflower. It's just cauliflower that they puree and make it look like rice. So you could use it in any way that you would use rice. Like you can make fried rice with it. I've even put like pasta sauce on top of it. I put it into soups. I put it in a smoothie. The smoothie, it gives it that creamy texture like a banana without the carbohydrates.
And I've heard that like cauliflower too, people use that as a substitute for mashed potatoes. You can mash cauliflower,
absolutely.
right?
And you can even buy it at the grocery stores already mashed.
So it's like easier nowadays.
A lot easier.
And Trader Joe's, which I just tried recently, their spiralized carrot, and we did that instead of the pasta, right? And just I didn't feel like I missed much.
Yeah, or zucchini noodles.
Zucchini.
Exactly. So you don't feel deprived. You feel like you're just giving different options, and you don't feel it's a diet. You feel it's a lifestyle change.
Right.
So you're still enjoying what you're consuming. That's really the key.
So what are some of the top brands? You have some other, I guess, items you want to share with us you can show?
Yeah, let's see. So I brought this. This is something used for my smoothies. This is the Khalifa almond coconut. Especially if someone's trying to cut their carbs, there's a lot less carbs in here. This has 1 gram of carb versus a cup of milk is going to have about 10. Okay. This gives it a nice creamy texture. So
let me ask you really quickly, because there's a huge marketing thing with almond milk. We have a ton of it. And I have some in my refrigerator.
Yeah.
My mother-in-law feels it's healthier. So what is, maybe you can help us solve the debate. Any milk any better than another milk?
You mean almond versus cashew?
Almond versus cashew versus regular milk. My son is like, don't give me peanut milk. That's what he says, because he's been raised on cow's milk sort of, and now he's like, I don't want the almond milk. So is that better for you technically?
Yeah, I think it depends on the person. So there's some studies looking at people with Hashimoto's, and they can react to dairy pretty easily, and people with any kind of autoimmune disease, I typically wouldn't want them to do dairy. So for every other healthy person, I think
nutrient-wise, does it make a difference though?
Well, you get less calcium, but you can calcium other places in your diet. Okay. So I don't think there's any reason if someone wanted to be completely dairy-free that they couldn't live a healthy lifestyle and have a healthy diet.
Okay.
This is one of my favorite things. This is golden milk. Have you seen this?
Have not.
So this is, it's turmeric and it has a black pepper. So when turmeric and black pepper are together, it enhances the anti-inflammatory benefits. And you see turmeric a lot of times in capsules. Okay. But I like to, again, try to do something in food form. So this, with a little bit of warmed milk, either cow's milk or almond milk, with a little bit of honey, is delicious.
Okay, so you put that in, it's like an additive then, essentially.
Yeah, you can put it in a smoothie, but I like to drink it warm during the winter. Okay. And it really helps with like joint pain and any inflammation. We know that most people do have some kind of inflammation in their body.
So where do you get something like that?
This is from Lassen's or Sprouts. Okay. You can buy it online at Amazon, and then also you can make it yourself. So I've made it myself, made like a paste, and then just keep it in the refrigerator.
Okay. What else? I feel like this is like Mr. Rogers. You got all these
things. I do. So I love these crackers, Mary's Gone crackers.
Okay.
So these, I tell my patients to find foods that are satisfying and not stimulating.
Let's see if we can turn it. Let's see if we can turn it towards it. There you go.
Like if you look at this versus, let's say, Wheat Thins, which are delicious, but someone got paid a lot of money to make that highly addicting cracker. That stimulates that part of me, dopamine, where it's hard to have just one. Versus something like this, you have 3 or 4, or maybe 5 or 6 with some hummus, and you're satisfied. So I like, again, brands that are.
Is that because of the fiber, or what else is in
there?
It's
got fiber and it has flaxseed, it has chia in it.
So it's got other nutrients in there in addition to just eating carbohydrates.
And then I really like this brand for its simple meals, especially if someone's trying to have food sensitivities. It's a paleo company, and they have baked things like baked goods like muffins and some cupcakes. They have cookies. Not that we should be eating a ton of that, but it's nice to have an alternative that's healthier. Right. So it's made with almond flour and cassava. So.
Okay.
And then what else? Oh, I got my bag. I got sardines, which always are a good source of omega-3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not a fan of sardines per se, but
you should try these ones, skinless and boneless. Okay. I promise, it's kind of like a piece of tuna. Okay. I love that. This is one of my favorite yogurts. It's a coconut yogurt. So for people trying to be dairy free, you can get this at Lassen's or Sprouts. It's delicious. Yeah,
okay.
It's really tangy.
And you eat it like you would normal yogurt?
Yeah, I put it in with berries or on top of oatmeal.
Does it have to be refrigerated or?
It does. Yeah.
Oh, it does,
yeah.
okay.
I just have an empty one there.
Okay.
This is one of my. Salads get boring, so I really like this company, Primal Kitchen.
I've tried that one.
Yeah.
They have that one at Costco in a bigger size.
Yeah, they have a lot of different ones. So the fat that they use is avocado oil in it, which is why I like it, because a lot of salad dressings that are bald have like safflower oil or canola oil, which are inflammatory. Okay. So I like that. And then I like this too. These are for good sack.
Oh,
so
seaweed.
Yeah. So the anything like this, those seaweed snacks, they're rich in iodine, which is good for thyroid function. So patients with low thyroid, this is a good snack for them. For any of us, but especially for them. And then the last thing, I have these 2 chocolates. So I wanted to bring something that, again, like this is the idea of the like Reese's peanut butter cups. So I say they're delicious, but they're highly addicting.
And a lot of saturated fat and things in them.
But something like this, you have 1 or 2 pieces, and it kind of quenches your sweet tooth, and you move on about your day.
Okay. And those are just what, chocolate bars essentially?
Yeah, I think I got them at probably Lassen's or Sprouts.
Okay. And it's dark chocolate. I mean, every study says dark chocolate good for you, bad for you, going to save your heart, not going to save your heart.
Well, I haven't seen the ones that say they're bad for you, but I think
going back to
they have the anti-inflammatory benefits, the polyphenols, which is what we get from berries and all those antioxidants.
Right. Well, and I would argue, I mean, that's part, and it goes back to kind of your conversation about this, is we see all these studies that constantly come out and show conflicting results. Coffee's good for you, wine's good for you, you know, and it's like, what is the consumer supposed to do? It's like you're going to, it's hard enough to read these labels, but now it's like, well, do I drink coffee? Do I not? Do I drink almond milk? Do I not? It's like confusing for people because all this stuff's coming out, and it's hard for the average consumer to try and decipher what's real and what's not these days, especially when you have everyone on social media telling, oh, this is the thing I'm doing. There's all these different oils and essential oils and all this stuff, and it's like, well, what's real and what's not? So how do you guide your patients? And if you're telling them, like, you're going to the supermarket tomorrow, are you saying buy this, not that, or do you say buy what you feel like but moderate it? What is your kind of message when you talk to your patients?
Well, I would never tell a patient don't eat something. I would say if you want to eat that, I would ask them to eat it, and then we talk about the experience afterwards. I focus more though on foods that I want them to eat, so like the phytonutrient spectrum. Some of the things we talked about today, fiber, protein, I focus on those, and then let them kind of make their choices for themselves. What feels, like I said, what feels good in their body. So back to your statement about this is good, this is bad, and it's changing every other day. Again, we're all individual. So I want them to make that decision for themselves. If they realize that chocolate doesn't feel good in their body, they're a lot more likely to stick with it than if I say don't eat it, right? So they need to go through that experience themselves, and then they're empowered to make the choice themselves.
All right, and Dr. Young, we want to talk to you really quickly about some of the reasons that, and you have talked to so many patients over your career, I'm sure, reasons that people say, I'm giving up, I quit, I'm throwing in the towel. What are some of the top reasons that people say that they're just not able to do it per se?
Results. I mean, how they are seeing results. So if I am well rewarded on what I'm trying to do in my lifestyle modifications and seeing results, I'm probably sticking more to what I'm doing. So if we are aware and setting our expectation right when we start any lifestyle modifications or any plans, we are more likely to have a good success because we set our expectation right. If we think that the weight that we gained over the last 30, 40 years is going to go down in 1 week, our expectations are not right. And we need to set it in the right
And we're looking at a graphic right now, and it says the number one reason why people give up so fast is because they tend to look at how far they still have to go instead of how far they've gotten, right?
Right.
It's getting to those results. So we really quickly want to talk to you about a patient of yours that's going to be joining us in a few seconds here. She met with you to lose weight, and we're going to take a look at Sandra's before and after photos as we bring her on set right now and do a bit of a switcheroo. Dr. Yao, tell us a little bit more about Sandra, and then we'll actually see her and talk to her as she looks now. These are before photos, we should say, right?
Right, that's true. So I met Sandra in my clinic in October of 2016. And it was for a weight management consultation. And we talked about her body composition. We evaluated how her medical problems are. We looked at the list of medications. And she had in her mind a goal, not only regarding the number of pounds she needs to lose. She had the goal about getting off the medication she's on. She's like, I just don't want to be on a long list of meds, and I am wanting to have a good quality of life. And we started to put the plan together for her weight management, and she was very determined and responsible to come to her follow-up regularly. She was logging her food. She had her husband helping, was doing her food log, and they worked together as a team. So we worked in the clinic, and she worked at home to really have the right setting for all the lifestyle modification we talked about it. And she would come every visit, every follow-up, having her food log, having her body composition. We repeat the body composition, see how we're progressing, modify the plan, and move on. And from October of 2016, she lost 60 pounds over a year and 4 months, reaching the goal of her weight in February of 2018. And she maintained it till now.
Wow.
So it's actually one of our very successful stories in the clinic.
And Sandra Hunter, welcome. We saw the before photos of you, and now we're looking at you now. You look great, number one, if I may be so bold as to say that. That's great. What's it like? I mean, you see the pictures. When you see the before photos, what goes through your mind?
Well, I feel good. My husband also feels good.
Okay.
He lost weight as well.
Oh, great.
And our doctor, he says, well, I guess you don't need me anymore.
When you see that person there, I mean, how is that person when you were living that way versus the way you live now? Take me back to that in that thought process. Was it always a struggle for you to try and find a healthy weight?
Yes. And it was difficult to find clothing. I was embarrassed. And we couldn't walk like we used to, and we loved to dance and everything, so now I can do all of that.
What a great story.
And we go to the gym, and we get compliments.
You're over there bench pressing 500 pounds? Yeah.
Not bench pressing, but we do exercise.
That's fantastic, right? And that speaks to kind of, Dr. Yad, the idea of lifestyle change and sustainable change. And Sandra, maybe you could talk to me about this, and you as well, Dr. Yad, is you were talking about the change in numbers, right, on being either being pre-diabetic and how literally change things to the point where they're not concerned about putting you on medication. I mean, that's a huge thing, right?
Definitely. And, you know, in a traditional practice for family medicine or primary care, we keep adding medications. Okay, so you have a blood pressure, here is your pill. You have a diabetes, let's get that extra. Your cholesterol is high, let's add a cholesterol medication. When I'm doing my weight management practice, the obesity medicine, I enjoy every minute of it, taking patient off medications. This is really the goal, right? And how they feel great about it, how their list of meds is maybe really their multivitamins and whatever is really needed, and how they feel about the quality of life they are living. So it's really not about the numbers of years you're living, it's the quality of life also you're living, and how you're enjoying all the aspects that Sandra mentioned, like her exercise, her dancing, all the things that she loves to do.
I was taken off of some of my medicine and cut down on my medicine.
So the question, I guess, that everyone's wondering at home is like, oh, well, she did it, but was it hard? And can I do it too? Probably is the other question they have.
Well, it was not easy, but I was determined. And when you start it, you know, it becomes like a habit. You just put your mind to it and you do it. So then it becomes easier. And my husband, of course, helped me all the way. And we always looked at the carbs of everything we bought. So it becomes a habit to look at it. And today we still look at the carbs.
Which is good, right? But and maybe I should ask you this, Dr. Yad, is because I've watched enough of those shows on like TLC and stuff, is the kind of codependence. And sometimes when the spouse isn't on board at the same time, you know, the spouse is helping, oh, let's go to McDonald's tonight, or let's go to whatever restaurant it is, right? And let's eat something that's you know, what we're not supposed to be eating, or it's not what we're trying to do. Talk to me about the support system, right? And we're going to bring Emily back too, because we're talking about emotional eating.
Right.
There's a mind and emotional part, a lot of this, right, when it comes to eating.
Right. And out of sight is out of mind. So once you set the right stuff around you and you're just trying to be positive about what you're doing, this is the right way to go. So when we put a plan together, when I put it with my patient and we put the list of the food that we will try to eat from that list, I always tell them, if you're gonna look at what's not on that list, you're gonna make your life miserable. But if you're gonna be very positive about it, try to be creative about it, you can enjoy it. And then be more kind of creative about finding option that you enjoy, but maybe in a lower carb content in it, or if we're counting calorie, in a lower calorie in it, or it depends on the plan we're following. So it's how you make it enjoyable.
But it sounds like also the support system, right? Because your husband has been obviously not only on this journey with you, but supportive of you. Because
Working
if the spouse is not working, is bringing, you know, things into the household that is going to be a temptation where you're going to overeat on those things, that it kind of derails everything.
Right? You have kids, you have older, you have younger people in the house. You want to set the right message for everyone. You want to get everybody on board, because it's just it's going to benefit everyone.
Yes. No, he was very helpful. He even made my cinnamon butter.
Oh, okay.
So that I could enjoy some of my stuff.
The things that you wanted to enjoy still, right? And that was important. What do you think, besides your husband too, was the key to your success?
How I felt about losing. I was determined that I was going to lose. And I wanted to do it, so it was how I wanted to do it.
Gotcha.
And Dr. Ayad gave me that knowledge and the information to lose the pounds, you know, the carbs 20, and then as I did that 30.
Just one step at a time,
yes,
and not being discouraged, because you are, you know, again, you're changing your lifestyle, which is something I think we want to talk about. I think we have a bit of graphic to show for folks, and that's the idea, right? And you've been talking about this all along, Dr. Yad, is I'm not dieting, I'm changing my lifestyle.
That's it.
So it's an important thing to think about, because it's what you're really doing long term that's going to make the difference.
Right.
And the compliments that people would give me. And telling my husband, boy, she's sure looking good, you better watch it.
Okay. Well, we're going to go ahead and switch you guys back out here. We're going to talk to Emily here again in just a few seconds. Sandra, thank you so much for joining us. It's a pleasure. You look fantastic, and it looks like you're feeling great, which is good. Let's talk a little about exercise, too, both Emily and Dr. Ayad. Exercise is key for a lot of folks to losing weight. Sleep, exercise, it feels like there's never enough hours in the day. Do we lose sleep for the betterment of making sure we get a bit of exercise in?
We need to balance.
Okay.
In my opinion, we need to balance the sleep and the exercise and the way we're eating. It's just different factors that we want to put together. So, and I always say exercise is not a tool to lose weight. It's a perfect tool to maintain the weight we lost and keep the metabolic rate really good as we go.
Okay.
So if I am exercising many hours but I didn't change anything in the way I eat, or maybe I'm eating more, I don't think the weight management will be an end result of it. It's a very good tool if we use it right. And it helped to release a lot of the endorphins that help the mood and help us stick to our lifestyle modification. It's absolutely a great tool.
Okay, and Emily, let's talk about, because we're talking about mood, how do you get the mindset of developing what you need, the mental factors and all the keys that you need in order to be successful at weight loss in your mind? Because you talk all about mindful eating, right?
Yeah.
It's all a lot of it's up here.
I don't know if I understand the question.
What are some of the keys, like, to being successful in your mind?
Oh, with being intuitive eater?
Uh-huh.
Well, I think it's really identifying why you're eating in the first place. So I use an acronym with my patient a lot. It's called HALTS. H stands for hungry, angry, lonely, tired, stressed. And I throw B at the end of there for boredom. And so every time you're eating, I have people try to think about what really might be going on.
Do you have them journal at all?
I do.
Oh,
yeah,
you do?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. For the appropriate patient, if it's not going to cause them stress, I'll ask them to do that. But I tell people, if there's, if you're eating cookies because you're tired, there's not enough cookies in the world. They're going to satisfy you because you weren't hungry in the first place. Yeah. And also, if you start eating when you're not hungry, you don't know when to stop. You stop when the package is gone.
So you're not eating to satiate a need. You're satiating a need, but it's not the right one.
Right.
It's not hunger. It's something else.
Right. So working on identifying physical hunger.
How do you break that pattern then? I mean, how do you get somebody out of doing that? Because that seems like the hardest thing. Because is it just not having the food there? Because that seems like not really an easy thing to do either. Because we're surrounded by food everywhere we are.
Yeah, for my patients, I use something called the hunger scale. So it's also known as intuitive eating. They use that a lot. And the whole idea is a scale of 1 to 10. 1 is you're so starving you're going to die. 10 is you're so full your guts are going to absolutely burst open. And so these two dietitians, and their names are Evelyn Tribole and Elise Rich, who wrote this book. And they have been able to demonstrate that if you kind of stay between a 2 or 3, that means you're not so hungry that you're going to eat everything, but you're starting to kind of get hungry, and you stop at a 7 or 8, that you can maintain a healthy weight. And I know that seems very arbitrary, so I've practiced a lot with it, and my patients do. I'll have them journal before the meal where they think they might be, where they in the middle of the meal, at the middle of the meal, and then again at the end of the meal. And all of that practice over time, then it starts to become more intuitive. And the reality is, we were intuitive eaters as babies. I would say I don't have any children, but I've seen when babies do eat, you feed them, and once they're full, they shut their mouth.
Right.
And so we have that ability inside of us, but what happens is that we start to hear things from people in society, this is a good food, this is a bad food, and it changes our internal cues, and we start listening to external cues. And so that's really this process, is starting to listen more to your body and your own self.
And Emily, I think what we're hearing now, because we're hearing different programs that are available out there, is deciding what medical weight management plan is best for you. How does somebody decide that? And I'll ask the same question to you, Dr. Yao, in just a few moments. How do you know what's right? And how do you know that?
Still her answer.
Okay.
She said it perfectly. She said it's what you can do long term. It's what feels right. I think you have to look at the whole family too, the family dynamics. I think having children makes some plans really strict, and so if it's a lifestyle, it's something that everyone should be able to do.
It's whatever works for you,
Exactly.
essentially. And Dr. Yao, we're looking at the list of all the different things out there, surgical options being probably the last one because it's most invasive. How does somebody look at that list and say, where do I start? I mean, they probably come see you, I'd imagine, first and have a conversation, right?
First, they don't want to say, I'm going to start tomorrow. You want to start yesterday. So don't say I'm going to start tomorrow. And then look at the whole, you have a lot of options. And we're listing some of the diet program. In the Wellness Center, we work as a team. So if we have a registered dietitian, we have the whole staff. We have the bariatric surgery options offered too. We have all different things that can fit in any patient's choices. So just don't wait to start tomorrow. Just start right away.
Start right away. And let's talk about before and after. If someone's watching right now and they need to know, they want to make a change in the way they eat, what options do we have at Adventist Health Bakersfield?
So in the Wellness Center, we have different things offered to them. They can be in a medical weight management program where I supervise the patients monthly. Depends on the program, and after that it's more 2 to 3 months interval and maintain.
Okay. Look at some patients, right?
Yeah, yeah. We have a very long list of very successful cases, and the cases you're seeing are not surgical cases. Those are medical weight management. So those are definitely significant.
That is significant.
Yeah.
I mean, those look like, in some cases, not the same person, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, and we have a big part of our program that are surgical cases too, that we see them before and after surgery, and we have the one that are not surgical candidate, and we are helping them medically. And we have registered dietitian that help with what we're trying to do, and we have the whole team to try to put it together. If the patient has the willing to say, okay, like Sandra said, I am deciding, I took the decision to change things, I think they will find the right fit.
And it's never too late to start. Like you were saying, start yesterday. But it's never too late, though, if you haven't started yesterday or today, you can always still start tomorrow.
Definitely.
Right?
Yeah.
So phone numbers to call if you want to schedule an appointment with Dr. Amira Yad, who you've been listening to and talking with here on 23 ABC. The phone number to call is 637-8831. You see that number there on your probably your tablet or cell phone or wherever you're watching on right now, 637-8831. You can also set up time to go and meet with registered dietitian Emily Wartiska by calling the Adventist Health Wellness Center. Her phone number there is 869-6580. Of course, for more information on all of our programs, you can go to AdventistHealth.com. And it's been a really enlightening and interesting conversation with you both. I really want to thank you guys for spending this time with us this afternoon.
Yeah, thank you so
you.
much
Right.
for having us.
Thanks to all the folks who've been following along with us on Facebook. And if you have any questions ongoing, you can continue to ask them here on this feed, and we'll answer them as we go along. But thanks so much for joining us on this Friday afternoon.
Thank you.